I'd like to continue our journey through the book Undoing the Knots by Maureen O'Connell, and we're up to part 18 in our series. Taking a look today at chapter 6 of Maureen's book. It's called Defending, and the subtitle is The Church of the Gesu. A lot of the chapters in the book Maureen has related to her relatives being at certain churches. So they're here at this very impressive church, the Church of the Gesu. It was a Jesuit parish that was built really as almost like a cathedral, a great church. We notice here, though, the attitude towards blacks moving in. What's happening is you have a basically middle-class neighborhood that now has some public housing established in the area. And the church now is going to be changing, the neighborhood is going to be changing, and you have to see, well, how are the white people going to react to now black people moving in? We see that there was this segregation in urban communities. Certain areas were kind of more for blacks. They were steered into those areas, and other communities were established along ethnic lines in a lot of the urban centers of our country, and Philadelphia was no different in that regard. The phrase that was used was incompatible ownership occupancy to really kind of alleviate any concern about, well, we're not really segregationist here. It's just that, certain people are more compatible with other people. They're more used to being with these types of people. They have a similar cultural background. Why don't we keep them in the same neighborhoods? It'll be nice. They'll get along well. There'll be peace. There'll be harmony. Things will be good. And so the zoning kind of reflected that, and also the idea of loans. Certain loans would be given in certain areas for certain people, other loans not given by the government. So it kind of reinforced this whole idea of, segregation. To kind of battle a little bit here what was happening in the Gesu parish with blacks moving in, they established the Gesu Parish Improvement Association, which was a kind of a fancy name for saying, well, what can we do to keep our white parishioners here and to keep our, any black people out? That was kind of the theme of the association. And what they would do is they would have meetings and they would try to convince people not to move out of the community. And, the idea was let's keep the community as it is so that our property values will stay the same and there'll be no crime, everything will be nice and wonderful, and let's do that type of thing, and keep others out because they're going to just drag us down. So we want to keep the white people here and keep the black people out. Anna McGarry was a parishioner who sort of fought against this. And you have the two stages of racism. You have the front stage racism and the backstage racism. So the front stage, you're trying to promote peace and harmony and love and talk about all the good things. On the backstage, like, we just want this for white people. We don't want the black people in our community. Controversy developed over the community center, and there you had overt racism. In the community center, we want to keep this for white people only. We don't want to have this center where maybe black people could come. And so that was kind of the battle. And so it went quickly from the backstage to the front stage in terms of racism. And what was used to keep black people out were covenants. And they were sell a certain home or rent a certain home, and there would be a covenant. Well, you cannot rent this, you cannot sell this to a black person. So that was the idea of the covenants that were attached to it. They wanted to keep the area all white. What was the underlying reality? The underlying reality behind the whole thing, really, when you take a step back, and of course you can look at the arguments about compatibility and let's keep everyone together, same race, same background, it's all well and good. But really is the power over black people, the power to say you can't live here, you can live here, the power to exclude from certain occupations, from educational opportunities. White people had the power, black people did not. And that was really the reality. As Maureen unpacks it a little bit more and looks at it, what really is happening here? What's happening here is black people have a lesser role to play in the community. They cannot get into the community. They can stay in their own communities. We don't want them. That type of reality. The Federated Colored Catholics of Philadelphia formed, and the St. Mary's Beneficial Society. And basically, the cardinal had a lack of response to their efforts. They were talking about what was happening in the Gesu Parish and saying, these covenants were bad and these opportunities to try to exclude black people, or can't you do something about it? This is not a good situation. It's really a racist situation. But the cardinal refused to respond to these black Catholics. And what do you get here? You get here basically there are certain spaces for white people, there are certain spaces for black people. And of course, the antidote to that is, cosmopolitan spaces that bring us all together, white and black. The thing that you sort of look back upon these types of experiences that Maureen is describing, these exclusionary experiences, it really shows also a lack of outreach to black people to bring them into the church. Many times they were looking for better education for their children, better opportunities for their families. And as you look at that, wouldn't this have been a golden opportunity to bring the black families into the parish school, to reach out to them, to help them acclimate to Philadelphia, acclimate to their neighbors, bring them together? This would have been really a fruitful path for evangelization, which did happen in some parts of the country. Certainly it happened in New Orleans, it happened in the Georgia area, the Carolinas, where there was an outreach to black families, and that proved to be very fruitful when it was done. Unfortunately, this is a missed opportunity that Maureen reflects on in the Gesu parish.